This is Jeff Chang. You're watching LBTV. I'm Jeff Chang. I'm the author of Can't Stop, Won't Stop, A History of the Hip Hop Generation, and Total Chaos, the Art and Aesthetics of Hip Hop. I'm an author, journalist, writer, and an old friend of L-BEEZIES and everybody in the Quannum crew.
We got the two DJs on the wheels and still we rock the party to the break of day. We got the two.
I'd been a DJ at KALX, K-A-L-X in Berkeley during the 80s, and seen, you know, all kinds of folks come through. I was a follower of Davey D and Billy Jam and all of these, like Ricky Vincent, the Uhuru Maggot, and all these famous DJs at KALX, Brother Kanye Mangi, and had seen a lot of the hip hop stuff developing in the Bay Area at the time, you know. So like Hammer would come out with a new 12-inch single, and he'd like drive up to Leopold's on Durant, and he'd get out, take the records out of the trunk, and go and put them on consignment, and then he'd come around the corner to KALX and drop us off copies and stuff, you know, and Paris and Digital Underground and all of these cats that were getting started. And so I was kind of in awe of all that. And when I moved to Sacramento, there wasn't really a lot of stuff going on around hip hop. So I thought, okay, well, let me see if I can maybe get a job working at the radio station on campus at UC Davis. So I went down there and I got a show, and I think I was like one of 2 or 3 other folks that were actually playing hip hop at the station at the time. There was another woman named Voodoo Child, Bia Smith, who was doing her thing, and there might have been a couple other folks that were doing their thing, but me and Bia were the only ones that were playing primarily hip hop at the station. And that year that I started DJing there was the year that LB, DJ Shadow, Chief Excel, all came in as freshmen, and then there was a bunch of other folks too that were part of this huge ass crew, you know. So people like Joseph Patel, who's Jazzbo, who's a famous writer, and he also works with MTV, and you know, Omari Patterson and KP and all these other cats that came in that ended up working at the radio station and stuff. But what happened was, since I was the only one that was really playing, you know, a range of hip hop, they all kind of gravitated to the show, and word of mouth spread, I suppose. And I was also going up to Tower Records in Sacramento and posting like a top 20, top 30 list or something like that. And so I was spreading the word about the show and whatnot. And so, you know, one by one, each of them would start tuning in. And you know, the way I really got to know him was I would have these contests on the show, you know, stupid stuff like name that sample, or you know, be the, you know, 91st caller or some bullshit like that, right? And these fools would always win. And in fact, the biggest winner all the time was LB. Like LB won so many contests, so many name that sample contests, that I had to disqualify him. I just had to say, look, man, I've given you like the last, you know, whatever, 12 prizes. You can't win this thing anymore. You're disqualified. You just got to come in and hang out with me. So, you know, he started coming in and hanging out. And slowly but surely, all these other cats that would call in, like, you'd get to know them because they call in. They'd be like, yo, you know, play this record. Say it's for you know, Excel. You know, say it's for LB from the, what was it? He was Asia Born from the Han Bada Han Posse or something like that. And so anyway, all of them would end up coming in, and we'd all end up hanging out. And that's how we kind of ended up becoming kind of a crew. At first, they didn't really want to hook up with each other. They didn't want to link and make, you know, we're all friends and stuff. And everybody like hung out with each other all the time because they all had the love of hip hop going on. So they would take classes together. They'd all, you know, they were in each other's classes, and then they'd start taking classes together and stuff like that. But they didn't see themselves as part of something bigger. Everybody was doing their own thing, you know. So LB had like a bunch of beats he was working on. You know, Chief Excel had his old friend from Sacramento, Gift the Gab, you know, that he had a crew with. Shadow had all these mixtapes that he'd been sending out with his friend, the Eighth Wonder, all over the place, and people like the Source and Hollywood Basic, Dave Funkencline at Hollywood Basic, and all these other folks were listening to his tapes. So everybody was kind of going off on all these different types of directions. And so at the end of '92, or the end of the summer, I should say, of '92, I was like, you know, I'm gonna go back to school. I'm actually gonna leave Sacramento, because by that time I was just like, I had it with my job, and so I was gonna go back to school at UCLA, and you know, it was a great thing, and these are really deep friendships that we'd formed, and they were all making incredible music. Like, just the stuff that they would drop on me was mind-boggling. So I was like, look, why don't we all pool our money and, you know, put together some records and put them out there. So, you know, during the fall I was gone, but that's when a lot of the stuff started coming together. You know, Shadow had hooked up with Automator, and they all went down and recorded down there, and Jazzbo had found a pressing plant, I think, somewhere. And so all of the stuff started happening the end of '92, and so by '93 we actually had our first record out, and that was the record that had DJ Shadow Entropy on side, you know, one side, and then the other side was Agent Born, Lyrics Born's first record. Send Them. You know, we started putting out records at the beginning of '93, and by '95, you know, Blackalicious Melodica EP was coming out, and Shadow was getting ready to release Introducing. So Melodica came out and did really, really well. I mean, it really blew up. You know, it became like this international underground hit. It was like the type of thing where you would hear it on commercial stations, you know, up and down the coast, and on the East Coast as well. You know, Shadow's stuff came out, same type of thing. You know, people were really, really hyped on Shadow's music. You know, and LB, you know, was getting ready to put out Burnt Pride. You know, so Solesides like came out, and we kind of made some noise. We kind of blew up. You know, we had national magazines calling, we had major labels that were calling and stuff, and decided to go for it full time. And the thing is it didn't end up really working out as a business, because the thing changed so quickly. You know, I think between '94 and '98 it was a completely different situation. You know, I think a lot of things happened, you know, at that time that we couldn't have foreseen, and at the same time, you know, it was just a thing of like, you know, I was not cut out necessarily to be a manager, man. It was like, it wasn't necessarily my calling in life, man. So at the end of '97, you know, we had a really good run. We put out Lateef, put out, you know, Muzapper's mixes, you know, Lady Don't Techno had blown up, you know. They had all gone on tour, on a national tour with Shadow, you know, and J-Roo the Damager, and they'd done a bunch of gigs with De La Soul and folks like that. And at the same time, the business wasn't working out. And I'm a stubborn ass, so I was a kind of person who was like, you know, let's keep on going, you know, there's got to be light at the end of the tunnel, blah, 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 blah. But we really were broke. We were really dead broke. We had a lot of debts to pay, and, you know, it was just tough, man. And I would never be the one who'd throw in the towel. I'd just be like, you know, just keep on slogging through the mud. So, you know, at the end of '97, we all decided, I think they decided and came to me with it. Well, I know they decided and came to me with it that they wanted to shut Solesides down. And it was real difficult for me, I think, because I'd invested so much energy into it. But at the same time, there really wasn't any other way, you know. I think that they had a lot of opportunities that were going to be available to them, and that it needed to be one of those classic sort of, you know, build and destroy and then build again type of things. So that's exactly what happened.